And welcome to episode 6 of the Roll the Tape podcast. I'm your host, Jackson White, with
Aiden McNally
and Jalen McKissick.
Today we're going to be recapping all of NFL Week 9, talking about who is the worst teams in the NFL. Are the Philadelphia Eagles the favorite to win the Super Bowl? The Bengals have won 5 straight. How good are the Bengals going forward? Josh Dobbs' comeback victory for the Vikings. Is he the real deal? Is CJ Stroud the Rookie of the Year lock? And the Ravens, after a big win, how good are the Ravens?
In terms of NBA, what we have in store for you guys is more In-Season Tourney talk. We're going to recap all of Week 1 of the In-Season Tourney and then flip it over to the regular season. We're going to recap the Week 2 of this NBA year so far, talk about our most surprising teams and our most surprising players.
And for our ending segment for this episode, we have the games of the week. We have 49ers Jags, Lions Chargers, Texans Bengals, and Saints Vikings. And we also have our patented starts and sits of the week.
So now with that, let's roll the tape. Let's get right into it. Going into NFL Week 9, Titans versus Steelers, Thursday Night Football. Steelers get the big victory, 22-16. Steelers now 5-3. Titans fall to 3-5. Kenny Pickett only 160 yards through the air, but the Steelers are 2 games above 500, moving to Sunday in Germany. Chiefs versus Dolphins, Tyreek Hill revenge game. Not so much. Chiefs win 21-14. Chiefs now 7-2. Dolphins now 6-3. Moving to the 1 o'clock games, Falcons versus Vikings. Joshua Dobbs comes in late, replaces Jaren Hall in the first quarter, leads the Vikings to a comeback victory. They win 31-28. Vikings now 5-4. Falcons fall below 500 to 4-5. Bears taking on the Saints. The Saints pull out the victory. Derek Carr threw a touchdown, same with Taysom Hill. They win 24-17. Saints now above 500 at 5-4. Bears fall to 2-7. Justin Fields possibly coming back next week for them. Looking ahead to Packers versus Rams. Packers get the victory 20-3 in this one. Packers now 3-5 after a long losing streak. Rams now 3-6 in this one. Rams just signed Carson Wentz after this loss. We'll see what that leads in the future weeks. Moving along, Patriots versus Commanders. Commanders get the victory 20-17. Commanders 4-5. Patriots 2-7 as they head to Germany to take on the Colts next week. Ramondre Stevenson had a big carry in this one, but it's not enough. Commanders get the victory. Moving along, Seahawks versus Ravens blowout. Ravens win big 37-3. Dominant fashion by the Ravens. They ran the ball all over the Seahawks, and just an all-around dominant win for the 7-2 Ravens. Seahawks fall to 5-3. Looking again to now Texans versus Buccaneers. This one was an amazing game. Texans get a crazy finish, 39-37 victory. They're now 4-4. Buccaneers fall to 3-5. CJ Stroud record-setting day, 475 touchdowns, most ever touchdowns and yards by a rookie in a game. Texans 500. Moving along, Browns versus Cardinals. The Cardinals without Dobbs and Murray did not play in this one. Browns win big. Watson 2 touchdowns, 27-0. Browns now 5-3. Cardinals 1-8, worst record in the NFL. Moving along, Colts versus Panthers. Colts win 27-13. Colts now 4-5. Panthers fall to 1-7. Kenny Moore 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns for the Colts, scoring 14 points just by himself. Colts win big. Raiders versus Giants. They win 32-6 in blowout fashion with their new head coach. They're now 4-5. Giants fall to 2-7. Cowboys versus Eagles. This is one of the better games in the 4 o'clock time slot. Eagles win, though, 28-23. Eagles get a stop on the last play of the game to stop the Cowboys' drive to score. Eagles win. They're now 8-1. Cowboys fall to 5-3. Moving along, Sunday night, Bengals versus Bills. Bengals continue their win streak. They win 24-18. The Bengals now 5-3. Bills fall to 5-4. Joe Burrow, 348, 2 touchdowns. Played well in this one. Moving along Monday night, in a blowout fashion, the Chargers beat the Jets 27-6. Chargers now 4-4. Jets now 4-4. Zach Wilson, 263. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Herbert only had 136 passing, but the defense was phenomenal for the Chargers. They get the big victory in that one. That's all of NFL Week 9. I would now like to welcome in my two co-hosts back into this one and talk about who's the bottom of the league when it comes to the NFL. And you look at it, and you look at the league right now, and, well, there's a few teams that you could say. The guys who are contending for that number 1 overall pick. If you look in the AFC, you have a few teams that are kind of in contention. The New England Patriots, surprisingly, have the worst record in the AFC at 2-7. The Denver Broncos, 3-5. Tennessee Titans, 3-5. And then I would say the Las Vegas Raiders at 4-5. Kind of in contention for the worst teams in the AFC. Going to the NFC, they have some bad teams as well. The Arizona Cardinals, 1-8, worst record in the league. Carolina Panthers, 1-7. They are also not playing that well. Chicago Bears, 2-7. New York Giants, 2-7. And the Los Angeles Rams, 3-6 as well. So those are really the bottom dwellers of the league, you could say. But who is the worst team in the NFL?
I don't know. If you're looking solely off of the conference, what's the worst conference? It's easily the NFC. You look at the bottom team in every division in the NFC. You got the Giants with 2-7, the Cardinals with 1-8, the Bears with 2-7, and the Panthers in 1-7. If the Panthers don't have a bye week, you could be looking at them being 1-8 because all these other teams have played 9 games. The Giants team, I'll just go off all of them. The Giants team, they're awful. Daniel Jones is out for the year. Nothing's clicking on offense. I thought it was going to be there after their good win over the Commanders. It's not. Their defense is terrible. There's really no shines of light for them. The Cardinals, Clayton Tune, I guess, is fine, but they're going to have Kyler Murray back, which hopefully is going to lift that team's spirits up a little bit. But still, their defense is awful. I really don't see them competing for anything at this point. The only thing they're going to be competing for is the first overall pick. The Chicago Bears, it's a little bit different with them since Fields has been out, but still Fields wasn't great this year when he was healthy, except for those 2 games against, who was it? The Commanders and the hold on. He passed for 8 touchdowns in 2 weeks. One was the Commanders and the other one was the Broncos, that's right. But other than those 2 weeks, he hasn't looked crazy impressive at all. After the Commanders game, we thought Justin Fields was going to be like the next best thing, and this is the turning point in the Bears season. Obviously, he goes down with injury. They're not. They're 2-7. Obviously, they're going to be competing for that first overall pick as well. And then the Carolina Panthers, 1-7, no signs of life. The one win they have this year is an awful, ugly 15-13 win that they probably shouldn't even won in the first place. That's a team who's not even competing for the first overall pick because they traded it to Chicago. So Chicago could find themselves with the 1 and 2 overall picks, which hasn't happened in, I think, decades with the Indianapolis Colts back in the 90s. But were they still the Indianapolis Colts?
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough, and who knows what the Patriots are doing. There's a lot of conversations you can make for the first overall pick. Only time will tell.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know who the worst team is. If I'm going off of who I think is going to be the worst team when it's all said and done, I think it will be the Giants just because of Daniel Jones being out. I know Tyrod Taylor's played well, but he's still not a caliber quarterback that you would want starting for the rest of your season. I just got the notification. Kyler Murray is officially activated for this week, so he will be the quarterback going forward. So I do think that he can will the Cardinals to like at least maybe 2 more wins. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like, but I think he can definitely will them to about 2 more wins, or at least 1 more win. And then with the Bears and the Panthers are just one of those teams, man, where it's just like
they're terrible.
What do we do now? Like, I know we have our hopefully franchise quarterback. We hope that Frank Reich would do well. He has not done well. He's not even calling the plays anymore. And, I mean, the wide receiver core, your best player is a 30-something-year-old Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they addressed. Their defense it's okay. They have some pieces on there: Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, J.C. Horn, but their offense just looks bad this year, man. And I don't know how it gets better. The Bears, it's the Bears.
Yeah.
The Bears, you know what you're gonna get with the Bears week in, week out. You might get a competitive loss. You might get a blowout loss. I don't know.
You might get a blowout win.
You might get a blowout win if Justin Fields comes back and is playing as good as he was before. I mean, maybe they can string together a couple wins. And then for the Patriots, it's just all bad for the Patriots. The defense isn't clicking, offense isn't clicking. They did beat the Bills that one week.
Yes, sir.
But other than that, the season has looked terrible for them. So I don't know. If I had to guess, the Giants will be picking first overall in draft season.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. The New York Giants are really bad. They shouldn't have 2 wins. They shouldn't have any.
And
this team is very, very bad. Also, there's our Cardinals. With Kyler Murray coming back, I do think they'll get a few wins. He's a solid enough quarterback to will that pretty bad team to a few wins. I really think it's going to be a battle between the Cardinals and the Giants for the number 1 overall pick. I do think the New England Patriots are bad, but I don't think they're that bad.
I have a question for you guys. If the Giants do end up with the number 1 overall pick,
You go Williams.
You go Williams easily.
Yeah, I mean,
You think so?
Daniel Jones
Yeah.
is gone.
There's no question.
He has
If you
never
get number
been
1,
an elite
even if you
quarterback
have like
and never
number,
will be.
even if you have like number 3, I still think you pick Drake May as well.
really?
I think you go Drake May.
What's not Drake May? Daniel Jones. What's his contract looking like? Is this his like last year? Like,
No, because he just signed the extension, didn't he?
yeah, I thought he just got
So
a
I think
bag.
it was a 3-year extension, if I'm not mistaken. But
I
I
don't
think
know. You might just have to ride it out with him then.
Well, if he got a bag, he's going to be your backup quarterback. It doesn't matter. Whenever a generational talent is up on the board,
you
the
pick
Colts cut Peyton Manning for
him.
Andrew
for
Luck.
Andrew Luck.
So if you tell me if Caleb Williams is up on the board and you're going to keep Daniel Jones,
I don't know.
I know
He's
you've
lost
just
3
crazy.
straight. He's lost 3 straight, and
he's
he cried in his mom's arms after losing a game.
okay. A lot of college quarterbacks who are really good don't have good college winning records.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's
quarterbacks, it
true.
doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, they're just because in college it's just so much different than the NFL. Talent is not even the closest thing. Like 2 teams playing against each other, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they might have the best player on the field, but their team could be really bad.
Yeah,
And
that USC defense sucks.
It
It's
is very
not
bad.
good. And
They just fired. Didn't they just fire their defense coordinator?
I believe so. And
Wow.
their defense and their offensive line is not that good either.
Nope.
So I don't believe it's Caleb Williams' fault. I mean, you look at other Andrew Luck's Stanford teams; they were okay, but they weren't amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So if I'm the Giants, I'm taking that. But I would say probably the Giants or the Cardinals. Moving along, the Philadelphia Eagles got a massive win over the Dallas Cowboys, 28-3 this past Sunday. And the real question is, are the Philadelphia Eagles, who are sitting at 8-1 through 9 weeks, the favorite to win the Super Bowl?
I don't know. Looking at their schedule, almost all of their games have been close. Actually, almost 1-score games. We look to week 1, beat the Patriots by 5, 1-score game. Beat the Vikings by 6. Those are 2 teams who are in the slumps right now, even though the Vikings are on the up. They do beat the Buccaneers by 2 touchdowns, which is good. They beat their division rivals only by 3. They beat the Rams by 9. They beat the Jets by a 1-score touchdown. They destroyed the Dolphins 31-17. I'll give them that. Again, another 1-score game in the Commanders game in week 8, 38-31, and then they only beat the Cowboys by 5 this week. It's hard because they're showing the ability to pull out close games, but we saw this with the Vikings last year. The Vikings were something crazy. Like, they had 10 games that were within 1 score, and they won 8 of them. And then they didn't really do anything in the playoffs. I'm not going to be surprised if we see a repeat of that with the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Do they have the best roster A to Z in the league? Probably. But the fact that they're coming this close with teams like the Commanders, who just sold their whole defensive line. The Rams, they only beat by 9. Matthew Stafford's not out for the year, but could potentially be placed on IR. The Cowboys are a good team, but only by 5. The Cowboys are good, but this is a team that's probably a team you need to beat by 2 possessions. I don't know. I'm not completely sold on them just because their ability to close out games is good, but that's going to come to hurt them in the playoffs. Because once you face a good team like the 49ers, even though they're 5-3 and three-game losing streak, or even the Cowboys. I say whenever the Cowboys play the Eagles later in the year, I think the Cowboys will beat them. They play the Chiefs and the Bills the next 2 weeks, so we're going to see how that goes. But I don't know. It's tough for me to say right now. I'm not putting all chips in on the table on them yet. But if I see good, healthy wins against the Chiefs, Bills, and the 49ers in the next 3 weeks, then yeah, I'd like to put them in the Super Bowl conversation.
I think they are the favorite. I think they have the least amount of inconsistencies in the league, top to bottom. DBs, great. Quarterback, great. O-line, great. Running backs, great. Wide receivers, great. A to Z, everybody's just great. You look at someone like the Niners. Is Brock Brady still going to play good? He hasn't played the greatest the last 3 weeks. Patrick Mahomes, he's great. But his wide receivers, outside Travis Kelce, who else is he throwing the ball to, really? I mean, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen launches them picks down the field at least once a game. And teams like the Cowboys, can Dak Prescott really win you the big games? So I just think that outside of like this season, even like someone like the Dolphins, they have yet to beat a good team.
A good team, yeah, that's true.
A team with a winning record. They have yet to be the team with a winning record. So I think that the Eagles just show that they have the most consistent team in the NFL. I know they're only winning by like one score, but winning is winning. A win is a win. No matter how it comes, a win is a win. And looking at the rest of the league and the inconsistencies between other teams, they just stand out the most to me. So I think I'm going to have the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right now, you look at it through 9 games. The Philadelphia Eagles have been the best team in the league, like you said. They're good at every stage of the game. Special teams, defense, offense, coaching, A to Z. They're the best roster in the league. And A to Z, they're the best team in the league. I don't think anyone's going to slow them down. And the crazy thing is Jalen Hurts isn't even playing as good as he could.
Yeah,
15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That could be cut down a little bit. A.J. Brown already has 1,000 receiving yards this season. They've looked good. And if they continue to play the pace and role they're playing, I think they're going to be playing their way into February. But moving along now to another super hot team in the AFC, a team that has won 5 consecutive games, the Cincinnati Bengals. Are the Cincinnati Bengals the hottest team in the AFC?
No. They're hot, but they're not. And I think it's in the AFC.
You think it's the Ravens?
It's probably the Ravens. I'm not gonna say they're the hottest team in the whole league, because you could argue that could be the Eagles. You could argue that could be I don't even know.
I think it's just the Eagles and the NFC.
I think it's just really the Eagles. The Eagles, the NFC is so bad. I think only the Eagles you can put in that conversation. But I think it might be the Ravens. But I'll still say the Bengals are right now, just because the fact that the Bengals started 1-3 and they've won 5 straight games really says a lot about them. The Ravens, they haven't had a losing record this year yet. They started out 2-0 and lost to the Colts, and then I believe they went like 3-1 and then 3-2 and then just won like 3 straight. But so the Ravens really have never faced a true adversity this year so far. The Cincinnati Bengals, they were in the slumps. Joe Burrow was hurt. His calf injury was hurting, really dragging him down a lot. Jamar Chase wasn't clicking. The whole defense was terrible, allowing more points than they've ever had last year. But the fact that they brought it together and they brought it back in their five game win streak team now, I don't know. I think they're probably the hottest team in the league, just because how bad they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's back.
He is. He is.
Sunday Night Football, all eyes are on you. Not even going to talk about the Damar Hamlin stuff, but this game was big for multiple reasons. But to go out here, I'm looking at this game right now, the stats. The Bengals had 50 yards combined in rushing. So it was all on Joe Burrow. And he delivered 300 and 48 yards passing, 31 for 44, 2 touchdowns. You outplayed Josh Allen at home, as you should, and with a running game that had nothing going, you still make a way. And T. Higgins, 8 receptions for 110 yards.
Yeah.
People were talking about T. Higgins was trash. T. Higgins is not that good. T. Higgins is just tall. He went out here and proved the haters wrong. 8 receptions, 110 yards. That's a Jamar Chase type stat line.
That is.
And T. Higgins did that today against this good Bills secondary. So I think that the Bengals are probably the hottest team right now. I know the Ravens are doing good right now, but to come down from 1-3 and start winning, or what was it, 0-3? 1-3. They were 0-3. Yeah, to win 5 games straight, that just shows real heart on this team, and they probably won't win the division. I think the Ravens might have that on lock, but they can make a run in the wild card. I don't think any team wants to play the Bengals in a wild card game. Not one team.
Yeah. The Bengals, I think they're back. Joe Burrow finally looking better after injury. Still like to see him continue up, but I think in the division, I think they're the best team there. We'll talk about the Baltimore Ravens in a little bit, but Cincinnati Bengals to me are one of the best teams in the AFC North and in the AFC. Joe Burrow looks like a guy who's completely back from injury. Jamar Chase finally getting the good looks. Joe Mixon still doing his thing over there. So right now, if I would say the favorite in that division, it's going to be the Bengals. They're hot. They're playing back to their pace they normally play at. So it's something you like to see. But moving along now to the Minnesota Vikings, a team that going into this week were 4-4. They have a huge comeback victory. They trade for a guy this week named Josh Dobbs from the Arizona Cardinals, a guy who's been a career backup. Started the first 8 games of the season for the Cardinals. Played okay, but Kirk Cousins goes down last week in a big victory with an Achilles, done for the year. They start Jaron Hall, the rookie. He comes in, he gets hurt, he's out. In comes Josh Dobbs, who doesn't even know the names of the guys in the offense. He plays well, throws 2 touchdowns, runs in a touchdown as well. Vikings, when they're 5-4, if you look at it right now, they're in the playoffs. So how realistically can the Vikings make the playoffs, and how is Josh Dobbs the real deal in Minnesota?
I think we're just going to have to give it some time to see. I mean, Josh Dobbs, like you said, Jackson, a career backup. He's played pretty well this season, given the circumstances, given the team that's been around him. I mean, you look back in Arizona, his wide receiver 1 was – who was Michael Wilson or whatever his name
No, it was Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown. I mean, with a bad offensive line, day-to-day James Conner, it's hard to win games. And he didn't win games, but he played well and he showed flashes. This time, he has Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Alexander Madison, all these players around him. The offensive line is still all right. They still have Christian Darrisaw, who didn't play this past week, but they still have Christian Darrisaw on the offensive line. They have a couple pieces on the offensive line. I think Josh Dobbs will definitely play better on the Vikings than he did with the Cardinals, but I don't think the Vikings will be better with Josh Dobbs than they were with Kirk Cousins.
No, me either. I think Kirk Cousins definitely took this team to a whole nother level. That Josh Dobbs, could he? Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But being more realistic, I don't know if he takes the team to that same level of what Kirk Cousins was producing at a top 10 quarterback level.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs in Arizona, yeah, he did have a worse, O-line pieces and wide receivers and, pass catchers. But is he really that guy to lead you to a playoffs? I don't know. Maybe the playoffs, but definitely not a playoff victory.
Yeah,
but he's like one of those guys that's just like he could pop off at any moment.
Yeah, that's true.
He had times in Arizona just popped off, especially early in the season, like when he beat the Cowboys.
Yeah,
that was impressive. That was an impressive win. And then here, to barely know the playbook, probably knew less than half the playbook, and to still get the job done. And I'm looking at it right now. He was the leader in rushing yards
For the Vikings?
For the Vikings.
Oh, wow.
He had 66 yards and a touchdown. Alexander Madison only had 44 yards. And then Cam Akers, who is out for the season with the ACL tear. But to lead the team in passing and rushing yards as a quarterback, that's impressive. And I just don't know about the Vikings. Especially when Justin Jefferson comes back, that will give him a huge weapon.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, do you think they could make a run in the wild card?
Like, do you think they'll win a playoff
Do you
game?
think they can win a playoff game?
With Joshua Dobbs
Josh
under
Dobbs.
center, I don't know. I'll give it time to see how he plays with this offense, especially when Justin Jefferson is getting back to 100%. It's tough to say right now because the Vikings are on such an uphill right now. Like they've played so well. They've battled back from I think 2-4, and now they've I think won 3 straight. Now they're 5-4 now. If like Jackson said, if the playoffs started today, they would be in the playoff picture. They'd be in the playoff tree. I don't know. It depends who they play.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I
If
say
they
it
were to
depends
like
on who
play
they
the
play.
Eagles, if they're like the 8 seed and they play the number 1 Eagles, or I guess they wouldn't play them. They'd play like the 2 seed,
The 2 seed.
probably
If they play like the Niners.
the Niners. No, they wouldn't be.
Or even the Lions. You think they could beat the Lions with Josh Dobbs at QB in the playoffs?
I don't know.
I
don't
think it's a
think
game.
so.
I think it's a game.
I
don't
don't
know.
think so.
I don't know if they win, but I think it's a
Personally,
game.
No. I like Josh Dobbs, but I think the Vikings, looking at the NFC, I think the Vikings will make the playoffs as the 8 or the 7. But ultimately, well, not the 8. The 8 doesn't make the playoffs. The 7. But ultimately, time will tell. The Commanders are a decent team. The Falcons are okay. The Buccaneers are and the rest, I think,
I think they can beat any team in the NFC though. In the NFC South,
In the NFC South, yeah.
I think they can beat any team in the NFC South if they were to go up against any team in the NFC South.
well, like the Saints.
The Saints, Bucks,
Yeah,
Falcons.
I agree. But now looking ahead to an AFC team that has been very hot, we mentioned them, the Baltimore Ravens, another squad that is very hot, getting a massive victory, 37-3 versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I mean, if you look at the AFC playoff picture right now, right? You look at it, AFC playoff picture. The Ravens are currently the 2 seed with a 7-2 record, tied for first with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens, are they the real deal?
Yes. I think they've proven it. I think they have. After their loss at home to the Colts in Week 3, we were throwing question marks everywhere. Can this team win in big games? Even in not big games. The Colts-Ravens game was not a big game.
It was not a big game. You have a backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew, coming in there. No, first time. Was that his first time starting that week? I think that was his first time starting. He goes in there into the Ravens' house, and he doesn't ball out. He doesn't play a great game. He plays a solid enough game to win the Colts the game.
Yeah, and they've proven over the years so far that they can absolutely flat out dominate teams. They beat their divisional opponent, the Browns, by 25. They beat the Titans by 8. They beat the Lions, who we were saying at the time was the hottest team in the NFL. They absolutely dismantled them and beat them 38-6. Then they only beat the Cardinals by 7, but this past week, a team, the Seattle Seahawks, who is 5-2 coming into play, they beat them by 34. This Ravens defense is looking good.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen is back up to where he used to be. Marlon Humphrey is playing well. Obviously, Roquan Smith, a superstar linebacker, you could probably argue is the best linebacker in football right now.
And that D-line looks
And the D-line's amazing.
amazing.
The secondary is good. There is nothing wrong about the defense. Offensively, it's the same story. Lamar Jackson just got paid a bag this offseason. These last couple of seasons have been a little bit disappointing compared to his MVP year, but he's played very well this year. I wouldn't say he's playing MVP Lamar
I'd say he's
level.
playing MVP Lamar level. I think Lamar might be the favorite.
It's different because
Favorite for MVP?
Who you think?
Crazy.
I think Lamar Jackson.
Statistically, he's not up there.
I think
He's just
Lamar
not
Jackson
doing it.
might be He's top 3 at least.
Statistically,
think he
9
could-
touchdowns
okay.
and 3 interceptions
Okay.
is not going to get you an MVP. When there's guys that almost have 20, it's not going to get you an MVP. 9 touchdowns? That's silly. That is
How many rushing
crazy.
yards? Does he
5.
have?
That's it. That is
Rushing
legitimately 14
rushing
touchdowns
yards.
total.
How many
yards.
rushing yards does he
Rushing yards, 400.
have? Okay,
400?
that's good. That's
So how
not
many yards is that total?
That's not
It's
MVP,
about
Lamar.
2,400.
That's not
That's not
MVP.
MVP.
That's
No.
not
He-
MVP.
He threw like over 30-something touchdowns and he won MVP.
So who do you think is the favorite for MVP right now?
Right now,
It's probably
it's probably Hurts.
it's
You think
probably
it's Hurts?
Hurts.
It probably is Hurts.
It might be McCaffrey. I don't know
I
though.
would probably say it's. I mean, it's a quarterback award.
I'd say it's
Yes.
Hurts.
It's probably.
But I think Lamar. Okay, I shouldn't have said favorite. I should have said one of the favorites.
Okay, yeah, I was about
Okay.
to say he's not the favorite.
But back to the Ravens. I don't think Lamar has been playing the MVP level football he was in 2019. But he's playing very well. Obviously, he got paid in the offseason, got that big deal, that big extension, and he's playing well. He's obviously connecting with all of his wide receivers. OBJ, he's starting to link with. OBJ had a touchdown this past week. Mark Andrews has obviously been a huge target for him for Lamar Jackson's almost his whole career. Rashad Bateman is getting up there. Obviously, we can't forget about Zay Flowers, probably one of the best, probably the best rookie wide receiver so far this year. I think if the Ravens can keep this up and they can keep playing the high level of football they are playing right now, I think they can win out the rest of the year.
So
That's a wild take right there.
I just looked it up. So I just looked at MVP odds. Mahomes number 1,
It's always going to be Mahomes.
Hurts
over
number
Lamar.
2, Lamar number 3.
Okay. I mean, okay, if we would sit down and watch a Ravens game, obviously the stats won't tell you everything.
Yeah, I would agree. In this 37-3 win over here, he didn't throw a touchdown, didn't throw that many yards, but I mean he was making very good plays.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, it's an MVP, it's a quarterback award, and it's a statistical award. He's 14th in yards for QBs. He's not even near the top 15 in touchdown passes. 3 interceptions is pretty good. But, I mean, there's so many other guys statistically who will be better. Obviously, if his team does win out, he's going to be up there. It doesn't matter what stats he puts up. But it's a statistical award. And if you're looking at stats, I mean, I would probably even put Tua over him right now. Tua is a guy who has...
Tua's the number
No.
4. Tua's the number 4.
Yeah, I would. I mean,
What?
Tua has 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns to 7
Tua
picks.
hasn't won a big game. He hasn't beaten
I
a
agree.
good team.
I agree. But I mean, if you have to remember what the MVP is. It is a
Yeah, that's true.
statistical award for quarterbacks. And if you're looking for stats,
Brock Purdy's up here.
it's Tua Tagovailoa.
Hold on, let me see.
So number 1, I'm just going to go through these. Now that I have these pulled up, I'm going to go through the MVP odds right here real quick. Patrick Mahomes number 1, Jalen Hurts number 2, number 3 is Lamar Jackson, 4 Tua, 5 Joe Burrow, 6 Trevor Lawrence, 7 Christian McCaffrey, 8 Brock Purdy, 9 Jared Goff, and 10 Tyreek Hill. I don't know who's going to come out victorious. It's probably going to be Hurts, unless Mahomes really just like wins out, or he really just starts going off. Even if he doesn't win
I
out,
would say it's so. My big 3 in MVP is, I would probably say Mahomes, Hurts, and if Burrow continues to come on with the Bengals, I think Burrow's probably over Lamar. My
Lamar.
2 sleepers is probably going to be Tua and Lamar.
Here's the thing.
That's my top 5.
Patrick Mahomes, if we're looking at it, how many MVPs does he have so far? Does he have 2?
2.
2.
Okay. Here's how I look at it. If he, at this point of his career, if he's had 0 MVPs, because voter fatigue is not as bad as it is in the NBA, but it's still relevant when it comes to NFL MVP voting odds. Patrick Mahomes right now is 7-2, tied for the first seed in the AFC, with Travis Kelce at tight end, yes, but his supporting cast
It's terrible.
is
His
awful.
receiving
Yeah.
core is
If
real
he
bad.
makes even a AFC championship game with this supporting cast,
And that's why he's number 1.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's Patrick Mahomes. I think it will always be Patrick Mahomes.
I think
he will be. He will. Okay, after, I'm just gonna go on with a crazy take right here.
Oh, here we go.
here we go.
Patrick Mahomes, when he retires, Tom Brady will obviously be the GOAT. But I think Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady will be 1A, 1B.
That's not a crazy take.
That's not crazy.
Patrick Mahomes is almost
That's a regular take.
people.
That
People
will
make the
probably
argument that
happen.
Patrick Mahomes is top 5 right now. already.
That's crazy.
I've seen the argument. I'm not saying that I'm making the argument. I've just seen the argument.
But I mean, if he gets another ring, yeah, he's probably there.
I think Mahomes. Here's the thing: Mahomes is still young. He's still 27. He will have
If he still wins,
another decade
if he has
full of
another
wins.
3 Super Bowls, yeah.
If he
'Cause
wins,
he's gonna have all the records.
he'll have all the records.
If he plays till he's like 38, he'll have all the records.
If he'll play until he's 38, he has probably another 10 good years left in him, and he's doing this. He's leading a bad offense to a 7-2 record. His wide receiver one is Rashee Rice. If he gets another superstar wide receiver like he had in Tyreek Hill, I think close the curtains. I think Mahomes will win 4 more Super Bowls.
Yeah, I definitely think.
And maybe even 3 more MVPs. Who knows?
He's definitely going to be up there in the GOAT talk whenever it's all said and done. But that'll be years down the line. But moving along now to the NBA, the National Basketball Association. The in-season tournament was underway last week. We're going to talk about it here. Obviously, we went through and picked our 2 top teams. And a lot of these games in this in-season tournament have yet to been played. So we're just going to mention, just kind of glance over it. We're going to go East Group A. And right now, only 1 game has been played. The Indiana Pacers knocking off the Cleveland Cavaliers in that one. So the Pacers won that one by 5. So the Pacers, obviously, as it looks right now, are atop East Group A, and the Cavs are at the bottom. Going to East Group B, 2 games have been played. Obviously, the Bucks and the Heat are 1-0 in that one. The Heat winning over Washington, the Bucks winning over the Knicks, and the Knicks and the Wizards both 0-1. And then going to East Group C, only 1 game has been played as well, with the Nets knocking off the Chicago Bulls. So not too much to talk about in the East. Obviously, not too many games have been played. I'll just go West Group A. The Portland Trail Blazers did beat the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies starting off really rough. We'll talk about it in a minute. But the Trail Blazers 1-0 in that one. West Group B, the Nuggets beating the Mavericks on that one by 11. And then West Group C, the Warriors knocking off the Thunder in a 2-point. Really good game there. So not too much to talk about in the in-season tournament. Next week, more games will be played. So, yeah. But moving along to the NBA regular season. And we have some surprising teams to talk about. So really, there's been a few teams that we handpicked to be surprising teams. So I'm going to toss it to Jalen. What's your first surprising team?
My first surprising team, it's got to be the Orlando Magic. I think nobody had, I'm not going to say nobody. Orlando Magic fans were screaming from the rooftops all offseason that this team was going to be good. And did I believe them? No. I did not look into, how good the Magic were going to be this season. But looking at this team on paper, it's not a bad team. Paolo, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs, and Franz Wagner are all
Jonathan Isaac.
And Jonathan Isaac, Jonathan Isaac coming back off of 2 years of injuries. Sucks for that to happen, but he's coming back and he's played great so far. This Magic team, they have everything you want in a young team. Good defense, good shooters, and a reliable scorer in Paolo Banchero. And that's all you really need to make a playoff push in the NBA with a good young team. Shooting, defense, and a good scorer. And they have that in bundles. So I really think the Magic sitting at 4-3. Do I think they stay at the top of where they're at? They're like the 4th or 5th seed right now. I don't think they stay there. But I think that they at least make the play-in 8th seed, 7th seed, possibly. But they're a team to look out for. They're not a team that I want to face if I'm one of the top teams. If I'm a Bucks or Celtics, I don't want to verse the Magic first round. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys who was high on the Magic going into it. So I think the Magic are a really good team. And 4-3 obviously doesn't show, but they've had 4 really solid wins. Going on one of my surprising teams, I want to say the Memphis Grizzlies. They're 1-6. I thought they'd be bad without Ja, but I didn't think they'd be this bad. 1-6 is bad. That's not good. They just got their first one a few days ago. So the Memphis Grizzlies, they are not that good at all. They are struggling, and I didn't expect them to as well.
My most surprising team for right now, after 7 games, well, this team's only played 6, but give me the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're 4-2, and I did not think that they were going to play this good. Obviously, the whole team rides on the back of Naz Reid. Naz Reid is I would say Naz Reid is probably the best player. Naz Reid is the best player on the Timberwolves.
That is insane.
You're joking, right?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Just take after take, man.
Rudy Gobert is playing
He's
back
had a
to
resurgence. He has.
He has had a resurgence.
Yeah, Rudy Gobert's playing back to where he was down in Utah a couple years ago. Obviously, last season was a terrible year for Rudy Gobert, but him and Cat are starting to gel. They're starting to get this offensive scheme to work a little bit, which is something we thought we'd never see. Anthony Edwards, unreal so far. He dropped 38 last night by the time we were recording to knock off the Celtics, right? The Timberwolves beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last night off of Anthony Edwards.
OT.
Anthony Edwards was playing like MVP level type play
8
last
points
night.
in overtime, which is insane.
8 straight points.
And then they have just good pieces off the bench as well. So, I mean, before the season, I was really low on them, but now that I'm looking at it and seeing this offense gel together, we know their defense was going to be good because they have Cat and Gobert, but this offense is starting to gel together, which was their problem last year, and it's starting to look pretty good. And I feel like the Timberwolves is a team you definitely got to keep your eye on for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so another surprising team for me is going to be the Indiana Pacers, a team obviously right now that I picked to be the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, but they sit at 4-3. They've beat the Cleveland Cavaliers twice, and the Cavs are a team that everyone picked to be atop the Eastern Conference. Of course, they got blown out by the Celtics by 50. Tyrese Halliburton didn't play in that one. It didn't happen. But going back, they just beat the San Antonio Spurs by a lot. They scored a bunch of points. I think, how much was the final score?
152.
152, which is a franchise record. 152 in an NBA game is crazy. Tyrese Halliburton's a guy averaging 12 assists, 24 points, looking like an absolute superstar. Miles Turner still just looking good. Another surprising player, Jalen Smith, a guy who has looked phenomenal, shooting over 60% both field goal and three-point range.
He leads the league in 3-point percentage right now.
Yeah, he's 8 for 12 from 3.
Jalen Smith.
Well, last? No,
the guy
but for right now.
Not.
He's looked really good. The Pacers are a team that I really like the Pacers, and Benedict Mathurin hasn't even started to really even come into the player we all thought he'd be. He's kind of in a slump right now.
Will he come back?
We'll see. Sophomore slump is a thing. But the Indiana Pacers are very good. Buddy Hield's still doing his thing. So the Indiana Pacers are a team that I would look to be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference this year. And who knows? They look really good, and they could possibly win this in-season tournament.
And for my most surprising team, I already had one, but I need to bring up this team, the Dallas Mavericks, 6-1.
Probably the best. Is it the best record?
No, the Nuggets are 7-1.
Oh, that's right.
But 6-1, second in the West, and this is half of their games they play without Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
This has been a Luka Doncic masterclass. I mean, he is putting on an absolute show down in the Star State. And Derek Lively, who would have thought, rookie year, coming out.
Lottery pick that is expected not to work out, and he's working out. He's finally the big man that Luka's dreamed of.
He's outplayed Dwight Powell for Dwight Powell's minutes, and he looks stellar. I mean, he's grabbing rebounds, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. He's a lob threat. He's the lob threat that Luka's probably always wanted. Dwight Powell, he's tall, but he's not no vertical lob threat. I mean, he'll catch a couple because he's just tall, but he's not going to go up there and get it like Derek Lively can. And then you also have guys like Jaden Hardy's playing good. Josh Green's playing good. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s playing good. I mean,
Jaden Hardy.
Jaden Hardy. Did I say Jalen Hardy?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I said Hardy, but I don't know which Hardy I said. Anyway, Jaden Hardy.
I think you might have said James Harden.
Did I say James Harden?
Oh,
I meant to say
gosh.
Jaden Hardy. Mine's everywhere. But this team is probably one of the best teams that Luka's had so far. And when Kyrie's really back fully healthy, that's even scarier because now you have another 20-point per game scorer that can create just as well as Luka can.
Yeah.
And this Mavs team, I thought that they might be one of the teams that miss out on the playoffs this year because of how stacked the West is. But now, I think they might be a top 5 seed.
Yeah, the Mavericks, a top 5 seed. I mean, even a top 4 seed. They look really good this year.
Maybe, yeah.
But now we're going to move along to the most surprising players. We all picked a few players. I'm going to go with mine first. I'm going to say Cam Thomas for the Brooklyn Nets.
I think he deserves a whole episode.
He does, man. He's going to be on the poster for the show. Cam Thomas is a guy who started the season coming off the bench and just boom, 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 30 points. He's averaging 28 points on the season, by the way. Cam Thomas, I mean, he plays no defense, but God, if you need a bucket, that's your man.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas, 28 points per game. Just, oh
my. For me, I'm going to go with a guy who I think it might be in the lead for Sixth Man of the Year. It's Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony is averaging 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists off the bench. I mean, off the bench, 16 points. He's giving you 16 points off the bench. I mean, Markelle Fultz is in front of him right now. I wouldn't, at this point, I'd probably still start Markelle Fultz over Cole Anthony just because of defensive reasons. And he might be a little bit of a better playmaker than Cole Anthony. But in terms of scoring, Cole Anthony is giving you buckets for the Magic. He's one of the reasons why they are 4-3 as of right now. And if he continues this, there's going to be a Sixth Man of the Year trophy sitting in his trophy case in a couple months.
Yeah, for my surprising player, I'm going to go with Tyrese Maxey. Now, I know James Harden just got traded and everything, but he's filling up that role perfectly fine. I know they both started, so he's not really filling up that role completely. It's not like he's coming off the bench and stepping into the starting lineup, but he is definitely taking some of the stress off other players' shoulders, dropping 25.5 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, which is kind of surprising considering he's not under the rim that much, and of course 7 assists, also filling in for that playmaking role that the Sixers are going to be missing out on. I think Tyrese Maxey is, besides Joel Embiid, I think he's definitely the best player on the Sixers. I feel like, what is it, his third year?
Yeah, third year out of Kentucky.
Third year out of Kentucky. I mean, he is shooting the ball lights out. He's putting up almost 26 points a game, and that's exactly what you need from a guy like Tyrese Maxey in his third year. He's giving you flashes of greatness for years to come, and he's definitely performing what you'd want to see as a Sixers fan after the departure of James Harden.
And my final surprising player so far is going to be Tyler Hero, a guy who was in a lot of trade talks in the offseason. And so Tyler Hero, a guy who really just overall looks good for the Miami Heat. Obviously, they're 3-4 and now above 500. He's averaging 25, 5 and 5. And Hero, a guy who nobody thought would be doing anything this season. He thought he'd be on the Portland Trailblazers or something like that. But no, he's with the Heat, and he's looked good so far. So Tyler Hero averaging 25. But moving along to the ending segment of the show. To wrap it up, we're going to go through the games of the week in the NFL. I'm going to get it started. Niners taking on the Jags. The 5-2 San Francisco 49ers taking on the 6-2 Jacksonville Jaguars. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and take the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 49ers are coming off a bye, and, well, everyone's going to take the Niners in this. I'm going to be a little different. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to take them. It's at home, so I'm going to take the Jags.
I'll also take the Jags as well. I think they'll improve. Obviously, the 49ers have been in a three-game losing streak, a 3-game slump. Jags, red hot right now. They're 6-2. And think, if they win this game, then they're 7-2, and that is right up on the doorstep of the first overall seed in the AFC. I'll take the Jags.
I'm going with Niners. I think this is going to be Brock Purdy's redemption game. I think he gets Deebo Samuel back this week. Christian McCaffrey, touchdown merchant. He's going to get a touchdown some way, somehow, whether that's a rush or whether that's a catch. 49ers, defense is amazing. Offense is amazing. I'm going with 49ers.
All right, moving along now to our second game of the week. Lions taking on the Chargers. The 6-2 Lions taking on the 4-4 Los Angeles Chargers. This one's going to be in L.A. I'm going to take the Lions to improve to 7-2. I really like the Lions this season. I've been on the bandwagon all year long. I like to see them win. Even though the Chargers are coming off a big victory on Monday Night Football, I'm going to take the Detroit Lions.
For this game, I like the Lions a lot, too. I really like their team, but I'm going to take the Chargers. They're coming off 2 straight wins, 2 straight good wins. Justin Herbert didn't play amazing this past week, but they still got the win, an impressive win as well, and they have this at home. I think they're going to continue to get this bus rolling, and I'll say they'll improve to above 500 at a 5-4 record after this one.
And for me, I'm going with the Lions. I think that the Lions they're clicking right now. I know they just came off a bye week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know they just come off a bye week. That means that all their players are well rested. They will be ready for this. They've been game planning this for 2 weeks now. This is gonna be their second week game planning for this game, and they just saw what the Chargers just did against the Giants last night, and they're probably looking at that film and being like, "Yeah, we can stop that." So I'm going with the Lions.
Moving along now to one of the other game of the weeks, the Houston Texans taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Houston Texans 4-4 on the season. The Bengals 5-3. C.J. Stroud coming off an impressive 5-touchdown, 400-yard performance, NFL record-setting, and taking on the red-hot Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, I don't think the Texans are quite ready to be a contender in the AFC. I'm going to go ahead and take the red-hot Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, the Texans are still 4-4, and this is basically the best-case scenario for the Texans. They're not going to play like this every week. C.J. Stroud's not going to toss for almost 500 yards, 5 touchdowns every game, especially against a Bengals defense that has gained chemistry over these past few weeks. The Bengals are, like we said earlier in the episode, they're probably the hottest team in the league right now. They have this one at home. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals.
My heart's telling me the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, my head's telling me the Cincinnati Bengals, but my heart's telling me the Houston Texans. And I'm following my heart. I'm going with the Houston Texans to go into Cincinnati. To go into Cincinnati.
It's not crazy to say, but it's still a long shot.
I'm going with the Texans. I think C.J. Stroud puts up another 300-plus yard game.
Man, that'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
If he does that, he's locking up Rookie of the Year.
Oh, he already has a lock.
Of course. I think.
Yeah, he already has a lock.
I think so too, because Puka Nacua was really the only other competitor, and he's fallen off.
And now that you might have Carson Wentz throwing him dots for the next 4 weeks, I don't know. So yeah, I think the Texans. DeMeco Ryans is a really good defensive coach. He might have a game plan for the Bengals, and C.J. Stroud can throw 300 yards, 300-plus yards. I think Texas can pull it out. Close game.
And finally, the final game of the week, the 5-4 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 5-4 New Orleans Saints. And I'm going to ride with the Josh Dobbs rocket ship and take the Minnesota Vikings.
I knew you were going to
astronaut
take
Josh Dobbs. He's my guy. He's been my guy since week 1. Let's go Vikings.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little different than Mr. Josh Dobbs.
The rocket ship? The rocket man?
I don't know. Yes, he pulled out a close win against the Buccaneers with a team who didn't even know who the names of the wide receivers that were catching his passes. But I'm going to take the Saints. I think Derek Carr is starting to get better off that injury. He's starting to connect with Chris Olave a little bit better. Yes, they're on the road, but the Saints have kind of proven that they play well on the road, so I'll take the New Orleans Saints.
I'm also going with the Saints. I think that they are on a roll right now after winning 2 straight, and Derek Carr is not playing bad. Taysom Hill is just one of those guys that they just plug in everywhere, and he just seems to make plays. So I think that they beat a Vikings team that does look solid after last week, but I think that the Saints are just a little bit better.
Yep, so that's going to wrap up all the games of the week. We'll now move on to starts and sit of NFL Week 10. My start of NFL Week 10 is going to be Dalton Kincaid, the Bills tight end. They play Denver, who's 30th worst versus tight ends. Their defense, besides one game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, has been really bad this year. Kincaid's a guy who has had 3 straight weeks of 15+. I think he continues that. He'll find the end zone. And then I'm going to go with my sit and say, I'm just going to say Russell Wilson for the Broncos. If you have a 2 QBs on your roster, Russell Wilson's playing the Bills, who are coming off a really bad loss versus the Bengals. The Bills are 3rd versus QBs. The Bills are going to come out angry and hungry. Ultimately, the best-case scenario is the Broncos get down bad early. They get down big, and Russell Wilson has to pass his way out of that. That's the only way. If this is any type of different game, Russell Wilson's not going to do that well.
For my start, I'm going to go with James Cook, the Bills halfback. He plays Denver, who gives up the most points to running backs, and he's starting to get a little bit more carries. And then my sit will be Deontay Johnson, the Steelers wide receiver. He's looked great off of that hamstring injury coming off IR, and I think week 6 He's played the last few good weeks, but he plays Green Bay, and he's getting guarded by Jair Alexander. And this Green Bay Packers team is gaining chemistry on defense. They just only allowed 3 points to the Los Angeles Rams in their must-win 20-3 win over Los Angeles. So I'll say sit Deontay Johnson.
For my start, I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard. He plays the Bears, who have the 26th ranked run defense. I think that he goes off. He's now officially the starter over Miles Sanders, according to Frank Reich. And for my sit, I'm going for Zay Flowers. He plays the Browns, who are the 3rd ranked team against the Browns. So, against the wide receivers. So I'm going with Zay Flowers.
Well, that's going to be it for this episode 6 of the Roll the Tape podcast. Make sure to follow us on all socials, Roll the Tape Pods. Follow us on TikTok for other stuff, too, as well. We're going to be posting more content that's not even podcast-related coming up soon. So give us a follow on all socials, especially on TikTok, Instagram, all that. But it's been fun. Thanks for joining us, episode 6. Episode 7 coming out next week. Stay tuned on the Roll. But that's it. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
See ya.